Alright, everybody, let's talk about everyone's favorite topic of the month, Infinity War. Yes, I saw it. Twice, in fact. The first night I saw it with a group of friends, and then I just saw it yesterday night with another smaller group, 2 people, in IMAX. And I would like to start off by saying that IMAX is absolutely no different. I did not feel any difference. The screen was a little bigger. The sound, I don't know if the sound, the sound seemed less impressive in an IMAX theater. I don't know what that was about. But I went to the local Escape near, over in Howell, New Jersey, and that was alright. It wasn't fantastic. But I got to see the movie again, and that was pretty interesting. Things were still funnier the second time around, but for me, being able to see this movie twice allowed me to pick out certain things, and it let me go back into the film with, like, okay, I know what's going to happen, so before the things that happen, let me see. Just let me see what I can see. And my friend brought up a pretty good point, and that being, please don't pelt the screen when you hear this, the movie isn't fantastic. I mean, it's a damn good movie. The pacing is incredible. The soundtrack is a Marvel movie soundtrack. I feel that all of the characters, all the way that everything was set up, I felt everyone got equal screen time. Everyone got enough. Everything was just absolutely, I think the formula for it was just placed to perfection. I thought it was fantastic. Is it the greatest movie in existence? No. Is it the greatest Marvel movie in existence? Debatable. I definitely think that there's some movies out there, in my mind, personally right now, I cannot name any Marvel movie that I loved more than this one. And just because I think that all of the Marvel movies, in my mind, kind of play as it's meant to be awesome for that time. And then once the next movie comes out, that movie's meant to be more awesome than the last. So I think they're kind of, upping the ante as they go along. And as you know, my channel, if you're new here, if you don't know, my channel is kind of famous for spoilers, or immediately jumping into spoilers, because I don't make content for people who haven't seen this shit before. I try to make content for people who are well familiar with these aspects of entertainment and people who have already seen it, and I more or less like to provide a platform for people to discuss it below, meanwhile giving my personal opinions on these things. So, I'm not Boogie, I'm not the nostalgia critic, I jump right into it, as if we're having a conversation like you've already seen it along with me. And in that light, one of the things I would like to talk about is Thanos' whole thing about destroying half the universe. Now, people have probably definitely brought it up, but one of the biggest things, one of the first things when we got out of the movie, first thing going through my mind, he wants to destroy half the people in the universe because there's not enough resources. And by destroying half the people in the universe, those half of people would be able to share all the resources in the world. Better idea, instead of snapping your fingers and killing everybody, would be to snap your fingers and just make, double or infinity of all resources. And I was bouncing that around in my head a lot. And then I began to think of something else. Wait a minute. What if he did make, double or infinity of all resources, but that just pushed each race in space to thrive more, to create more of themselves. And eventually, the number of resources would be outweighed by the amount of people using them, or the amount of people trying to take advantage of them. And resources are always limited, but whereas people will always fluctuate, or people will always, the amount of people will always increase. I mean, just because the way that I see it is he kind of just set everyone back. The doomsday clock is still ticking. I still believe that the threat that he feared is still possible, maybe 1,000, 1 billion years after he's dead. But I still believe that people will still multiply. People will still use up resources. So even though Thanos snapped his fingers and boom, half the people are gone, in 1,000,000 quadrillion years, when all these races have, multiplied to high heaven, you're going to be back at square one. You're going to have all these problems all over again. But honestly, with that movie, I don't think they were thinking too far with that. All the focus was on, hey, this is Thanos and he kills everyone. I don't give a shit who, how, where, whatever. Well, maybe who, but how, where, whatever. Point is, he's just killing people. So I don't think too much thought was put into, his reasoning. And then you got Marvel fans saying, well, because he's obsessed with death, and they didn't really push that at all. His whole thing was, I want to save people. I don't want the universe to, perish. And that was one of the things my friend found interesting. He was telling me on the car ride the other day. He found it interesting that Thanos isn't... he's not doing it for selfish reasons. He did what he did to save. He wants to save people. He wants people to live. Unfortunately, it requires half of everyone to die. Now, I know if they bring this up in the Marvel movie, that'll in the next Infinity War, it would be so fucking funny if they did well, why didn't you just create double of all resources? And if they were able to come up with a reason to trump that, more power to them. If they even have the balls to have him question that in the first place, bravo on them. Because this isn't a universe of fucking morons. That seems like a viable question that would be asked. It seems like a smart-ass question like Tony Stark would ask. But it was just never tackled. The topic was never even touched. Even after, when I was watching it yesterday, I realized when, you know how you can normally predict when people say shit in movies? We're basically at that point in history. We've seen enough movies that, if you see a TV show, if somebody says something, you could kind of predict what the other person is going to say. If not word for word, then in the same ballpark. Well, the other day when I was watching it for the second time, when Thanos was talking to Doctor Strange, hey, I want to destroy half of everybody because we're running out of resources. And I was just and then Stephen Strange stood up and he said something else, and I'm like, that doesn't seem like something to immediately jump to that. It's like he gives you a reason, and then he's just like, you can't do that. We'll defeat you. And it's more wouldn't the more logical thing to say to him be well, why don't you do this instead? But it's just it's kind of like something obvious. It's up in the corner, and it's just nagging at people. But everyone's just kind of pushing it away no. We don't want to address that. We don't want to touch that. Because then that would completely destroy the fabric of everything this guy stands for. And then in the end, we'd just have, all the superheroes fighting a dumbass in a glove. So, I don't know. If they bring it up in the other movies, if someone has the guts to ask it, and then it gets answered, I don't want that shit where, Spider-Man's let's say in the second Infinity War, they're Spider-Man's oh, why didn't you make double of all resources? And then it's just not answered, or something happens to distract Thanos, or something happens and some shit blows up, or somebody attacks him, or whatever. None of that shit. I just want, I'd like it to be answered. Just curious about that. Also, other things. I don't know about all of you, but at the ending... Oh, yeah, big spoiler. If we haven't gotten spoilery enough. At the ending where Nick Fury dies, he becomes dust, and then he drops the little pager, and it's a picture of Captain Marvel's logo on it. Does anyone else really give a fuck? I don't give a shit about Captain Marvel. I really do not care. I'm not looking forward to it. I don't think it's going to be it's Captain Marvel. The company's called Marvel, therefore it's a big deal. I don't think it's... No. Not looking forward to it. When that flashed at the end of the movie, I'm like... So? I was expecting to see, Adam Warlock. That would have... That would have gotten me... That would have got my juices flowing. But... I didn't read somewhere. I heard from a friend who read somewhere that they're scrapping the Adam Warlock idea. And I didn't think that made much sense because I could have sworn to God that in a end credits scene, somebody said something. It's something about Adam. Or they said the name Adam. It's supposed to be ushering him in, and I don't know if Marvel Studios is just deciding to push the fuck it button with that character, but I definitely think he'd be a fantastic addition to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But I don't know, it doesn't seem like... It feels like they mentioned him, like, once, like, in a smidgen, and then he was just never mentioned again. Never brought up, never shown on camera, never even alluded to. Nothing. And I feel like if they wanted to allude to stuff like that, they should have, like, they could have done it with, you know, the Collector's Place. Just because that place was a freaking... It was a reference treasure trove. So, they could have alluded to Adam. Maybe they are going to have him in the next movie. I don't know. I'm hoping. But the whole big hype for Captain Marvel, I'm really not impressed. I never really liked Captain Marvel. Chances are they're going to make it a woman. Because, God forbid they make any more male superheroes. God forbid they stick to the original comics and make this. They have to make the sequel. They have to. Fucking ridiculous. Because now I feel like it's kind of becoming pandering-ish. Because you know how, like, when my friend brought this up too, which was a very good point, when Black Panther was coming out, it wasn't intended to be like a pandering movie, but you know, all those little societies of bitchy whiny people pretty much turned it into an instrument of, like, you know, black pride. Which, hey, if that's what it's meant to be, great, fantastic. But just the fact that it's just one of those, like, things that's just kind of there. Like, it's like one of those things that people, like, don't talk about, but it exists. Like, when Black Panther came out, suddenly, if you didn't go to see it, you were a racist. Or if you saw it and you were a white person, you were a piece of shit. Or some, you know, stupid, trivial bullshit that these people come up with. But Black Panther essentially ended up becoming, like, an instrument of determining, like, I don't know, loyalty to the black community or some shit like that. I don't know. So just, like, bullshit. Like I said, just utter bullshit. And I hope they don't do that with fucking Captain Marvel. Because then they're going to make it a woman. And then it's going to be like, well, same shit. If you didn't see Black Panther, you're a racist. And if you don't go see, you know, Captain Marvel, then maybe you're, you know, anti-feminist or whatever the fuck. Whatever these people, whatever new bullshit these people are going to think of. Because, I don't know, the absolute stupidity of people when this shit comes out is just absolutely mind-boggling. But, trying to think what else was interesting in this movie. I really don't have many broad opinions on stuff like this. Also, I'm very tired. But aside from that fact, yeah. Comment below, tell me if you yawned when I yawn. I was wondering if that was like is it a mental thing? Do you have to be in someone's presence when that happens? I don't know. I'm curious. Alrighty, well, I'm getting rather sleepy. Maybe I'll knock off another video, I'm not sure. There's so many things I wanted to talk about today. So many interesting things. I can't remember the last thing. No, fuck it. Maybe I'll tackle it in the next video. Anyways, thank you guys for joining me. Go see Infinity War. It's absolutely fantastic. I would definitely like more people to talk to about this. Very interesting. Might make another video because chances are I definitely forgot to talk about a bunch of shit. I don't make notes. I don't make notes or anything. When I do this channel, I flip on my camera, my mic, my computer, and I just jump into whatever's on my mind at the time. That's what gets laid down. So yeah, that's gonna do it. And I'll see you guys next time. Adios.